Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Parivrajikacharya, Stotar Shata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Parivrajikacharya, Stotar Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Jai. Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhupada Ki. Jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaura Pramanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Naranayam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam uttirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nastapraya Subhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavaduttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. In loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 46, Text 40. Sattvam rajas tamaiti bhajate nirguna gunan kridan atito pi gunai Shridat Javan Hantajaha Sattvam Rajas Tamaiti Bhajate Nirguna Gunan Kridanatitopi Gunai Srijatavan Hantajaha Sattvam Rajastama iti Bhajate Nirguna Gunan Kridanatito pi Gunai Srijatavan Yantajaha. Bhajate Gunan Kridanatito pi Gunai Sattvam Rajas Tamaiti Bhajate Nirguno Gunan Kridanatito pi Gunai Sattvam, goodness. Raja, passion. Tama, and ignorance. Iti, thus called. Bhajate, he accepts. Nirguna, beyond the material modes. Gunan, the modes. Kridan, playing. Atita, transcendental. Api, although. Gunai, using the modes. Srijati, he creates. Avati maintains, Hanti and destroys, Aja, the unborn Lord. Translation. Although beyond the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the transcendental Lord accepts association with them as his play. Thus, the unborn Supreme Lord utilizes the material modes to create, maintain, and destroy. Please repeat. Although beyond the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the transcendental Lord accepts association with them as his play. Thus, the unborn Supreme Lord utilizes the material modes to create, maintain, and destroy. Purport by the servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As stated in the Brahma Sutra 2.134, Loka Vat Lila Kaivalyam, the Lord performs his spiritual pastimes as if he were a resident of this world. Although the Lord does not favor or abuse anyone, we still observe happiness and suffering in this world. The Gita 13:22 states, Karanam guna sangosya. We desire to associate with various qualities of material nature, and thus we must accept the consequences. The Lord provides the field of material nature in which we exercise our free will. Foolish non-devotees not only attempt to cheat the Lord by trying to exploit his nature, but when they suffer the reaction, they blame God for their own misdeeds. This is the shameless position of those who are envious of God. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, if Krishna is equal to all, and no one is dear or undear, then why did he create some people happy and some people unhappy? Happiness and unhappiness are created by the modes, not by Krishna. That is the intention of this verse. Though he is without gunas, by his glance at material energy, he accepts sattva, raja, and tamagunas. For what purpose? For his play. But he is above all play. Uddhava desired to make Nanda understand. Actually, Krishna is above the gunas and rather appears for pastimes with his devotees as avatar in this universe among materialistic people. Though he does not enter the gunas, he creates the universe through the gunas so that the designated jivas can receive senses and intelligence to reap their fruits of good and bad karma and thus enjoy and suffer. What fault is there in Krishna for this? That is the meaning of the statement, no one is dear or undear to him. Thus the creation is not the Lord's, but rather that of the gunas. Verse 41. Due to defect in the bodily functions, a person may perceive that the earth is turning around like a potter's wheel. Similarly, though the mind is the doer, the jiva perceives the soul as the doer due to identification with the mind. In the same way, the jiva perceives the universe as a creation of the Lord, though it is actually the creation of the gunas. It should be understood, however, that though the material universe is not a direct creation of the Lord, it is a creation of the Lord's Maya Shakti coming from the Lord. As the Lord and his energy are non-different, one can say that the Lord, in the form of his Maya Shakti, creates the world. And Jiva Goswami writes, by proximity with the Lord, the gunas of matter act, though it appears that the Lord is directly involved, or playing is the nature of the Lord. In playing, the Lord acts as if he were attracted to the material gunas. Without connection with the material gunas, he plays. He accepts the gunas of sattva, rajas, tamas in order to play happily, which gives happiness to his devotees. Why does he become absorbed in the gunas? He does not become absorbed at all. He is beyond the gunas by his qualities, like his knowledge arising from Svarup, Gunai. Therefore he is without transformations like birth and death, Ajaha. The play involving the material gunas consists of creation, maintenance, and destruction. And then Sanatana Goswami writes, though he has no material activities, why was it said that he creates the universe? Verse 3. 2 verses explains, he acts in the world as play. That play is produced by manifesting spiritual qualities. Through the Lord, though the Lord is untouched by the material gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas, and though he is without birth, he manifests qualities beyond the gunas, such as cleverness and mercy to play in this world using those qualities. He creates melodies which bewilder Brahma and Shiva. He protects the gopis from Shankachuta and other demons. He destroys Shankachuta and others, or he creates calves and cowherd boys. He maintains those forms for a year and withdraws those forms after that. I'll just repeat the verse again. Although beyond the 3 modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the Transcendental Lord accepts association with them as his play. Thus, the unborn Supreme Lord utilizes the material modes to create, maintain, and destroy. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Mitilyam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunat Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijina Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakantitam Sacha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopikanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Good morning, everyone. Please say a prayer that I can say something pleasing and enlivening and enlightening, hopefully, and glorifying the Lord in Bhagavatam. So, in this section, as I was preparing for the class, Uddhava is talking to Nanda Maharaj specifically. Yashoda's nearby, and both are in a state of despair, if you will. And Uddhava's sent to try and give them the message that Krishna will return and not to give up hope. And so Uddhava is saying, yeah, Krishna's going to come back. And they're still in intense anxiety and separation. Nanda Maharaj, specifically, he's speaking to, that doesn't seem to be working. So then he starts talking about Krishna and glorifying Krishna, I guess in a philosophical way. And I was kind of confused for a moment, like why somebody would do that, because in a sense these people are suffering so much that, it's kind of like somebody goes to a funeral, of course they're going to be suffering, and, somebody can go up and say, like, oh, they're in a better place or whatever, but that doesn't really relieve your suffering. And in this way, so I was looking up in the previous verse, or is it? I think verse 36. Jiva Goswami writes that they could not tolerate the words that he will come. And then again, Uddhava tries to console them. Do not lament. When Uddhava said that Krishna would return, Yashoda glanced at him. Uddhava saw that glance and exclaimed, O fortunate ones, fearing that they could not tolerate even a little delay in Krishna's coming, Uddhava then began teaching them, following the customary way of relieving lamentation. Krishna exists even within the karanas of all beings. What to speak of his existing outside of them? An example is given to show now he has an aprakata nature. In being bound by ropes and in eating dirt as well as other pastime, only Yashoda could see his all-pervasive nature. Others did not realize this fact, and thus he does not appear within them, but he remains manifesting himself within you too at all times. Why do you need his external manifestation? But if you desire that, that will certainly take place soon. As Paramatma exists in all beings invisibly, fire exists in wood invisibly. Similarly, Krishna exists near you invisibly. You see him in the manifestation of Goloka, and he sees you close up. You see him also through the mind, and very soon you will see him with your eyes also. So he's Uddhava is trying to like pacify, kind of like, I don't know if you can say perfection incarnate, because Nanda and the residents of Vrindavan are in their perfect position, in that they're realized servants of Krishna, and in their relationship with Krishna. So these instructions almost, I don't want to say are not necessary for Nanda, but it's necessary for us. Like the whole Bhagavatam, a lot of these, the whole Bhagavatam is for us to, so we can read Krishna's pastimes and understand these, try to understand Krishna. So really, the instruction is for us. And in this verse, in the previous verses, he's explaining that Krishna is in the heart of everyone. He's basically everywhere, not to fret. And you guys have been taking care of Krishna since he was a baby, so what more could you want? Because you already have the perfection. So don't worry, he's coming back. So that's one point. Another point in this verse is that Krishna is above the material modes of nature. And that that the world is under the control of the three modes of material nature, passion, ignorance, and goodness. And in this verse, I was mentioning in the Gita, chapter 13, verse 22, which talks about the gunas better than I can at the moment. So I thought, why not read that verse? And that verse is in Purusha Prakriti Stohi, Bhunkte Prakriti Jan Gunan, Karanam Guna Sangosya Sadasad Yoni Janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species. Purport. This verse is very important for an understanding of how the living entities transmigrate from one body to another. It is explained in the second chapter that the living entity is transmigrating from one body to another, just as one changes dress. This change of dress is due to his attachment to a material existence. As long as he is captivated by this false manifestation, he has to continue transmigrating from one body to another. Due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he is put into such undesirable circumstances. Under the influence of material desire, the entity is born sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as man, sometimes as a beast, as a bird, as a worm, as an aquatic, as a saintly man, as a bug. This is going on, and in all cases the living entity thinks himself to be the master of his circumstances. Yet he is under the influence of material nature. How he is put into such different bodies is explained here. It is due to association with the different modes of nature. One has to rise, therefore, above the three material modes and become situated in the transcendental position. That is called Krishna consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another because he has material desires since time immemorial. But he has to change that conception. That change can be effected only by hearing from authoritative sources. The best example is here. Arjuna is hearing the science of God from Krishna. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long-cherished desire to dominate material nature, and gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. In a Vedic mantra, it is said that as he becomes learned in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he proportionately relishes his eternal blissful life. So in this purport here, we can see that, so we know that Krishna is above the three modes, that he comes here to deliver the devotees in his pastimes and his playtimes, and to annihilate the miscreants and to establish Dharma. And sorry, I just lost track. Anyways, the point I was going to bring up was that the world is under the control of these three modes of material nature. And in this purport, saying that the only way to rise above these three modes is through Krishna consciousness. And anyone that's been practicing Krishna consciousness for a little while can practically see the effects of that. And I was thinking earlier that a lot of people will come to the temple and they'll feel a sense of peace and relief. And that's because in the temple, in the Dham, we're trying to be above these modes of material nature. So like if I, like yesterday, happened to go to the store, whichever one, it doesn't matter, Food Lion or Weaver Street or Walmart, you can just, at least I can, you walk in there, you can immediately just feel the modes like exploding everywhere. You can see people that are just super depressed and in the mode of ignorance. You can see people that are running around trying to get stuff, super passionate, ready for the party. And you can see people that are in goodness, like, I'm not saying I'm in goodness, but I was just getting boga for the deities. So it's practically, you can just see that these modes are always at play, and there's always a mixture of the modes, you know. Some are more predominant than others. Some people are more dominated by ignorance or passion. And another section of the Gita that it brought up was knowledge of the Absolute in chapter 7. Krishna talks about himself and the modes. In text 12, he says, Ye chaiva sattvika bhava, rajasas tamasas chaye, mata eviti tanvidi, natvaham teshu te mai. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they are, on the contrary, are within me. And the next verse kind of pertains to our verse. Tribir guna mayar bhavar, ebi sarvam idam jagat, mohitam nabijannati, mab ebya param avyayam. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. So I thought I'd read the purport for that. The whole world is enchanted by the three modes of material nature. Those who are bewildered by these three modes cannot understand that transcendental to this material nature is the Supreme Lord Krishna. Every living entity under the influence of material nature has a particular type of body and a particular type of psychological and biological activities accordingly. There are four classes of men functioning in the three material modes of nature. Those who are purely in the mode of goodness are called brahmanas. Those who are purely in the mode of passion are called kshatriyas. Those who are in the modes of both passion and ignorance are called vaishyas. And those who are completely in ignorance are called shudras. And those who are less than that are animals or animal life. However, these designations are not permanent. I may be either a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, or whatever. In any case, this life is temporary. But although life is temporary and we do not know what we are going to be in the next life, by the spell of this illusory energy, we consider ourselves in terms of this bodily conception of life, and we thus think that we are American, Indian, Russian, or a Brahmana, Hindu, Muslim, etc. And if we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is behind all these modes. So Lord Krishna says that living entities, deluded by these three modes of nature, do not understand that behind the material background is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there are many different kinds of living entities, human beings, demigods, animals, etc., and each and every one of them is under the influence of material nature, and all of them have forgotten the transcendental personality of Godhead. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, and even those who are in the mode of goodness, cannot go beyond the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truth. They are bewildered before the Supreme Lord in his personal feature, which possesses all beauty, opulence, knowledge, strength, fame, and renunciation. When even those who are in goodness cannot understand, what hope is there for those in passion and ignorance? Krishna consciousness is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature, and those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated. So that's, I think the purport is, in order to try and stay above the pull of the modes and the mind, is to remain in Krishna consciousness and strive to be Krishna conscious through service and through chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And then everything will start to make sense. And in a similar way, like Nanda is in stress because he doesn't know when he's going to see Krishna again. He's kind of Krishna puts him in this kind of veil of yoga maya that he kind of going back and forth. He doesn't, he remembers Krishna as God, but Krishna's his son, and it's just all these emotions that are hard to understand. But all we have to understand is that we just have to stick to the process of Krishna consciousness to overcome these modes, and that it'll always, because it's in the material world, it'll always be going on outside, inside. But the beauty of Krishna consciousness is just like Maya, is always there at every second, if you're able to take advantage of it or so choose it. So That's one thing I was thinking of. Let me see what else. Another thing, another thought that came to mind was how, we're here because we're in the material world because we desired to be. Long story short. And the desire was to enjoy or to try and be controller outside of Krishna. Keep losing my train of thought here, but does anybody have any comments or questions? Mm-hmm. Drishta Prabhu was just saying that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur brought up a point that Krishna basically doesn't create the modes, or doesn't create the material nature. The modes create the material nature. So as long as you're involved in the modes and enmeshed in the modes, you're just going to constantly be going through that cycle. It's like ropes that tie you down. But Krishna consciousness is like that hand that'll lift you out, pull you out of those ropes. So in the purport it says, foolish non-devotees not only attempt to cheat the Lord by trying to exploit his nature, but when they suffer the reaction, they blame God for their own misdeeds. This is the shameless position of those who are envious of God. That's basically the entire population, or basically all of us. We're always trying to cheat and exploit nature. That's why we're here. That's why we're trying to control everything. But, we're not in control. It's we'll always be frustrated by the modes. And, in general, the population is foolish and tries to be in control and doesn't even acknowledge the existence of God. This says those who are envious of God, but a lot of people don't even recognize that God exists, which is a shame. Or they will say, okay, well maybe God exists, but I like all the bad stuff, which is kind of a really odd position. We don't have too much time to go, so I won't go off into that tangent, but people get really lost in that. I guess it is enviousness of God, just wanting to enjoy and control as much as possible. But we need to rise above that. Rise above. What I was going to mention earlier is that I brought up a song with a song lyrics. It's from a heavy metal song, and usually heavy metal is like that. They're so enmeshed in I hate God and I want to, revel in the evil and the negativity and the lust and stuff. But this one song, I'll just read it real quick, weight of the false self. If you want to make a difference in the world, it means you have to be different from the world you see. Free yourself from burdens that you know exist. Don't carry the curse of the fatalist. Lift the weight of the false self crushing you. Lift yourself up from malevolence. Lift the curse of the fatalist haunting you. I don't know. Anyways, Jai Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Kanvandam Aravindanalayatasham Varhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalem Priti manti Vasyanti panti kayanti Jiram naganti Ananda Chinmaya sadhu Jala vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami 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 Govindam Adipurusham
Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Gokula Tarani Mandala Mahite
Gokula Tarani Mandala Mahite. Gokula Tarani Mandala Mahite. Gokula Tarani Mandala Mahite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate. 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 Damodara Rati Vardhana Veshe. Harinaskuta Vrinda Vipineshe. 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 Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate. 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 Vrishabhanu Dani Namashashi Leke. Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake. Vrishabhanu Dani Namashashi Leke. Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake. Vrishabhanu Dani Navashashi Leke. Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake. Vrishabhanu Dani Navashashi Leke. Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate. Radhe Jaya Madhava Dayate. Karunam Kurumai Karuna Bharate. Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite. 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 Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Dayate. 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 Jaya Radha Golokananda. Radha Golokananda. Radhe 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 Jaya Giri Govardhan. Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Go, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gaura Nitai ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Goloka Nanda ki jai, Jai 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 Shri Radhe Sham. O Radha, all glories unto you, all glories unto you, beloved of Madhava, object of worship for all the young girls of Gokula. You dress yourself in such a way as to increase Lord Damodar's love and attachment for you. You are the controller of Vrindavan, the pleasure groves of Lord Hari. You are a new moon arisen from the ocean of King Richard. You are the friend of the Lalita, and your wonderful qualities, friendliness, kindness, and faithfulness to Krishna, endear you to Vishaka. You are an ocean of compassion, and your divine characteristics are described by the four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumara. O Radha, please be merciful to me. Srila Rupa Goswami ki jai, Srila Rupa Manjari ki jai. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, Pradipanam Pranam Rita Samadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti, Tatrapitani Amita Smarane Nakala, Etad Drishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi, Durdaiva Midrishami Janina Nuraga, Trinada Pi Sunichena, Torora Pi Suhishuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari, Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim, Kavitam Va Jagadishakamaye, Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare, Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahoitaki Twai, Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram, Patitanam Mama Shishave Bhavam Buddha, Kripayata Vapada Pankaja, Stita Duli Satrishim Vachintaya, Nayanam Galadashudaraya, Vadanam Gadgada Hridaya Gira, Pulakarnishitam Vapukada, Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati, Yugayatam Nimishena, Chakshusha Pravashayatam, Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename, Ashlisha Vapadamritam Panastumam, Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva, Yatatata Vavanatolam Pato, Mat Prananatas Tusavanapara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire. Nor do I desire. Hare Krishna. We'll have this devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I'm your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I've fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord. Tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name. When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Sri Shastra Ki Jai.